very much. I'm delighted to be here with my colleague Mustafa, and we're here on behalf of the whole Gemini team and many others at Google, really pushing forward the capabilities of these models. So this is not our work. This is work of lots of people, and we're going to talk to you today about the Gemini 2.0 model series. So in December we had a whole bunch of announcements related to various parts of the Gemini 2.0 series. One of the things we've been doing is getting out more experimental models for developers to play with more quickly as we sort of then progress those models or slight improvements to those models towards a general availability release. We'd like to get feedback about what works well in these models, what doesn't. So we've been actually releasing more early preview models, experimental models more quickly. So one of the things we're really excited about is all the multimodal capabilities, and the Gemini 1.5 Flash model seemed to hit a really nice point in terms of the speed of the model as well as its capabilities. And we've continued that in the 2.0 Flash. So the Gemini 2.0 Flash model generally is higher quality than our 1.5 Pro model, but is as fast roughly as our 2.0, our 1.5 Flash model. So we're basically bringing even more capabilities in the models into the sort of very fast Flash sort of latency and cost perspective. And so it can do all kinds of interesting things. It can say, what is this painting? And we'll give you a good answer. Could you also make this one? So if you can just take this around and use Intor and learn a lot about the paintings you're looking at, probably more than you may know already, which is kind of cool. We've also been putting out experimental models, as I mentioned. So Gemini, our first release of the 1.0 model was in December of 2023. And so we released an early preview of an experimental 2.0 model. The 1206 version is the date that we released it in AI Studio and the Gemini API. And that actually is a quite capable model. So here's in AI Studio, if you click on the preview setting, we have a whole bunch of experimental models, and that's where we'll continue to put interesting experimental models. So you can sort of select which one you want to play with. So we have the 1206 model there, we have the Gemini Flash experimental, and we have a Flash thinking experimental that I'll talk about briefly at the end. And sort of like a good way to kind of try out the capabilities of these models and understand what they can do. So the 1206 model, we were pretty happy with the quality, and we put it up on LMSys or LM Marina now, I guess, which is a way that users can do side-by-side comparisons of anonymous models and vote which one's best. And then in aggregate over lots and lots of votes, you can sort of tell what the strengths, like which models are stronger than others, using kind of an ELO score measure similar to what they use for ranking people in chess tournaments. And the 1206 model, we were pretty happy because it's number one in all the different categories, which is great. So that is a quite capable model, and you can play with it in the AI Studio interface. Then we sort of had a bit more of a flurry of announcements. 2.0 Flash is kind of a really capable, as I mentioned, sort of high performance, low latency model with quite good capabilities. Has more improvements in multimodal input and output. It can use some tooling, it can use various kinds of tools, and paves the way for really these kind of agentic loops where you have a bit of model computation. It decides to use some other external tools like searches or whatever, gets some results back, thinks about those and looks at the sort of results there, and does sort of kind of perhaps many iterations of these sorts of model interacting with external environment in order to sort of accomplish more complicated things. As I mentioned, 2.0 Flash is actually better in quality than the 1.5 Pro, and obviously significantly better than the 1.5 Flash model in nearly every benchmark that we track, which is pretty nice. So we're sort of bringing the highest quality model cost and quality into our Flash series 2.0. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mustafa to dive into a bit of the multimodal capabilities, which we're pretty excited about because they're considerably enhanced for 1.5. Yeah, there's all kinds of really cool multimodal capabilities, so I think this should be a fun hackathon for you all. I'll talk very briefly about thinking models, which is not the focus of today, but we're also starting to build in the capability for these models to do sort of many rounds of generation of output, look at the generated output, think about, does that make sense, do many steps of reasoning, and this can really help improve the model capabilities, especially in areas like coding and mathematics, sometimes very complicated multimodal questions where you're asking some complicated relationship between things you see in a video or in audio. So we've got an experimental version of a Flash model, Flash 2.0, Gemini 2.0 Flash thinking, which is basically debuting at the same point in the ELO thing within margin of error as the experimental 1206 model. But it's in the Flash series, which is like quite fast and capable. And again, it's we're actually happy because we didn't want to displace our 1206 model, so it's tied, which is nice. And you'll see further improvements in our thinking models over the next little bit. We're going to be pushing on this because we see that these are really good ways to improve the capabilities of the model. It also kind of enables you to have nice scaling. If you apply more inference time compute, you generally get better results. And so that's going to be a focus for us. Here's just one example that an external user did with the Flash thinking model. It says, please add a pair of parentheses to this incorrect equation to make it true. And there's a lot of different ways you could add parentheses to that equation to make it true. So it says, okay, the incorrect equation is this, without any parentheses, we get this answer. To make the equation true by adding a pair, let's try a few different ways, following these ones. Placement, there we go, we did that simplifies to that, and so that, final answer. And so I figured out that I needed to add them there and there. That's from multiple rounds of thinking about the difficult problem that's been given, and then sort of trying a few different strategies, thinking about what makes sense. So that's something we're pretty excited about. You can play with that model in the AI Studio, as you can with the non-thinking 2.0 Flash experimental and the 1206 model. One of the things we've been really pushing on is building really capable models that have quite low cost, because we think, and are also quite fast, because we think that bringing really good models that are extremely fast and you can apply them many times in the inner loop of whatever you're trying to do is actually a really good way to enable people to build really impressive and cool things. And so that's started with our 1.5 Flash series, which is kind of the Pareto frontier of the kind of cost and quality section. And the 1206 model up here is also quite good on the Pareto frontier of cost. And by the way, it's a log scale. So there's like a factor of 10 difference here and here, and a factor of 10 difference here and here. So if you want the absolute highest quality Gemini model right now, you can use this one. But this one is actually quite a really good model. The Flash thinking model is not on here because we haven't announced any pricing about it. But it's also quite capable and quite good and to the left. So, or will be to the left when we announce pricing. So with that, that's all we got. And thanks. Again, this is on behalf of the entire Gemini team and many people at Google putting together these fun models that for you all to play with. So we'll happily take some questions.